Our first guest tonight is an Academy Award-winning actress you know from films like Black Swan, Jackie and the Star Wars prequels. Her new children's book, there it is right here, Natalie Portman's Fables, is available now. Please welcome back to the show, Natalie Portman. Hi, Natalie. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm so glad to talk to you.
It's wonderful to talk to you now as well. And I should notice our nows are very different because you are in Australia. It is very early for you, yes?
Yeah, it's like 7:30, so it's not super early. Normal parent early.
Yes, I guess that's the thing, that once you become a parent, you realize you have a different sliding scale for what being early is. And I should use that as transition to talk about your book, which is great that you decided to write one. What have you changed about these sort of three existing fables?
Well, I realized when I was reading to my kids, I have a 9-year-old son and a 3.5-year-old daughter. And when I started reading to my daughter, I realized so many of the classic books have almost all male protagonists. And so I started changing the pronouns, and then I was like, this just needs to be different. So I was like, we don't need to throw away the old stories. I just want to have them with a character population that reflects the world more. So I set out to rewrite three of my favorites.
So I have 2 boys. They're 4.5, 2.5, and I'm wondering, did your kids then have different favorite books because their genders were different, or did they like the same thing?
They really liked both. They really both liked the same things, which was a really nice thing to see. But then I realized that a lot of the kind of feminist skewing books were geared towards girls, and none of them became her favorites. But my son wasn't even exposed to them in terms of like people giving presents or the kinds of things, they aim at him. So I was like, oh, we need the classic things, the things that all kids read, to have just a real reflection of the world.
I would imagine the scariest thing about writing a children's book would be your own children's reaction to it. How have they responded so far?
Yeah, no, they're my toughest critics by far. Like, they are constantly cutting me down and telling me, inadequate in whatever way. So they were kind of the best, most honest editors. Like, throughout, I would just read it to them, and you could tell when they were bored or losing attention or, didn't get something. So it was great to be able to like change it and test it out on them and see what I could do to make them laugh.
Are there other sort of bodies of your work that they've watched? Have they watched any of your movies?
No, they haven't. I think it's weird for them to see you in like a different context than their mom,
Sure.
Like, until they're older and they can kind of conceptually get it better. Do your kids watch you ever?
No, I mean, they've seen me on, where they see me is on Taxi TV. Because every now and then there'll be a clip of the show. And they
That's
don't,
major. Like, you've really made it.
Yeah, they really, I mean, for a kid, if you can show up in any sort of mode of transportation, they kind of lose their minds.
That's super cool.
Yeah, but they sort of recognize me and then they want me to mute it. Whereas I tell them, look, the only way it's even possible for the taxi driver to know who's in the car is if we turn the volume up way high. You're actually, I hope I'm right here, you're in Australia working on the new Thor movie. Is that correct?
Yes. We haven't started filming yet. We're just prepping.
And this is with Taika is the director. He's such a fantastic director. I think now it obviously makes perfect sense, but maybe it was a little unlikely in the beginning to direct a big superhero franchise like this. Is it exciting to work with him?
It's so awesome. He's just got like the best spirit. He's like a very good person, and he's also hilarious. And the combination is very, very endearing. So it's very exciting to get to go to work and like laugh a lot there.
I know that there's no movie that's more under wraps than a Marvel movie, but there is rumors at least that you might be wielding the hammer. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've definitely been able to talk about and openly talked about the fact that Jane becomes the mighty Thor, like in some of the graphic novels. So it's pretty exciting to get my superhero on.
It's a long overdue. Something else that's really exciting and ties into, I think, a lot of what we're talking about is you were announced as one of the owners of a new professional women's soccer team. Here's a picture of you with Megan Rapinoe. She's one of our favorites here as well. How did you get involved with being one of the owners of this new team?
Well, with Time's Up, it was kind of the first time that women across industries had gotten together. So women in tech and business and sports and film and medicine, advertising, all these different kind of backgrounds came together. And when we started hearing from some of the athletes, particularly the one that really inspired me was listening to Abby Wambach talk about her experience, and to think that these like best players in the world and the world's most popular sport weren't being given the kind of recognition, amplification, compensation that they deserved was really crazy. So a group of us got together and said, okay, we're going to try and do this differently. And so it's the first women-led, investor professional sport team. And we're Angel City FC. And we'll be starting in 2022. We're just going into like player recruitment and all of that.
That's right. Did you play soccer in high school?
Oh no, I'm like the least athletic person of all time. Maybe that's why I admire it so much.
Right.
But that's why everyone who knows me is like, how did you end up in this? But I'm a big fan. I really admire it, and I could not like dribble a ball to save my life.
It should be noted that I think when you look at owners of male sports, you never think, oh, I bet they'd be really good at football. So I think it's very, very natural to maybe not be someone who has to go out on the field as well.
Exactly. It's like kind of part of being a fan is they're like kind of, stand-ins for what you wish you could do.
Absolutely. You mentioned Time's Up. I know you've been really involved not only with that, but very vocal politically. It's a very strange time to talk because obviously we're, a week out from an election. There are maybe reasons to be optimistic as well as reasons to be deeply pessimistic. How are you? What is your emotional state right now?
I think I'm on edge, as most people are, about what is going to happen, because it feels like it will really determine the future in a big way for our kids. But what makes me optimistic is how engaged people have become. Like, I feel like people care more than they ever have in my lifetime, for sure, about politics and what's happening, and being personally involved and personally invested and realizing that their votes make a difference. And so that's been kind of the silver lining, I think, to all of this, is that everyone is really kind of feeling like they're part of this and they need to be active.
I guess 3 is probably too young to be aware, but how aware is your 9-year-old of everything that's happening?
Oh, so aware. I mean, both my kids are aware. I mean, my 3-year-old obviously less so, but she'll talk about Trump and Biden like in conversation. I think she hears it so much. And my son is very aware and talks about it with his friends, and you really realize how much it's impacted them. Like, they've grown up largely under this presidency, and it's really a different, I mean, my daughter completely, of course, but my son, half his life has been under this presidency. And so it's quite remarkable how much these young people are engaged and curious.
It is interesting how it's pretty easy, I feel like, to explain the current president to kids because he is like a fable in a lot of ways. Like, if they've read 1 or 2 children's books, you're like, here's where he fits in.
Yeah, and you try not to, like, I always want my kids to have like nuance and never be like, oh, this person is bad or this person is good, and be like, people are complicated, but it's hard to get that across with Trump. I'm like, I don't want to like demonize, but like, I might just demonize him,
We had the best.
Yeah, it's hard to find the nuance.
We had the best thing in the world happen the other day, which is my sister-in-law. Her name is Ariel, and she's very close with my wife, and we love her very much. But we were talking about Donald Trump to our 4-year-old, and one of the things we said is he's very rude, and he took that in and he said, "But not as rude as Ariel, right?" And I was like, "Oh, this is." Literally the greatest. And just to be able to say to him, like, no, he's not. He's not like that.
That's great.
Hey, it's always so wonderful to see you. I can't wait to read the book to my kids. And be well over there.
Thank you. You too.